Hey guys, and welcome back to another Unfiltered Gamer board game review. And today's game up on the tabletop is Widget's Workshop by Phase Shift Games. It's a 2 to 5 player game, takes roughly about 15 to like 25 minutes to play for ages 14 and up, and it is designed by Alex Cutler. This is a game in which you're going to be basically drafting or choosing different portions of a mechanical robot and building them onto your 3 different building bays. Where you're going to be basically selecting a top face-up tile and placing it down on your board, or choosing to face down, selecting one, and then throwing one back into the pile here. It's a game where you're just going to simply choose one of these things here, and then you're going to pass, and the next player is going to do the same, and you'll rinse and repeat. Depending on the number of players in the game will determine how many of these robots you'll build. When you've built the required amount of robots and scored their points for them, everybody else will get 3 turns to build at least that many robots if possible, and then you'll score and see who has the most points. Robots can go from 0 points technically all the way up to 30, and you'll tally all those guys up, and the winner is the person who has the most points. It's a simple game really, with a unique concept and a cool aspect that only Phase Shift Games does. Let's talk about it. Alright, so how to set the game up? Well, the first things first is you're going to take the deck of widgets and you're going to shuffle them. And you'll be able to flip them back and forth, you can rotate them, and you're just basically going to have them not only front and back kind of shuffled, but once you get them all shuffled, you're going to throw them down on the table so that there's some that are face up and some that are face down. It's intended this way. It feels kind of funny the first time, but yes, make sure that they're all face up or face down, and there's a good variety of all of them. And then you're going to place them into a kind of 2 by 2 foot box. It can be a little smaller if you want, or larger, as long as it's all spread out and you can't see everything. You want it to be kind of a nice clump. And after that, you'll give each player a random robot piece that is going to be face up and put into one of their robot bays. You should have 3 bays, and if you're using the mat, give each player a mat, and have them place the robot piece. I have 2 players here, and so in this case, I'm going to have 2 robot parts, 1 for each player, and the rest should be simply up here in this pile. After that, you're pretty much ready to go. The last player to have dropped something is the player who gets to start. It's a simple setup, but a little bit more complex game. Okay, so let's talk about how to play the game Widget's Workshop. So as you know, you have your 3 bays, and each person starts with 1 part. Each of the parts are going to reference a portion of the robot: the left leg, left arm, right arm, and then the body and head. And so there are 5 portions to the robot in each of the 3 bays. And when you're able to satisfy the condition of having all 5 parts in a bay, that's going to turn your robot into a fully constructed robot, and you're going to score points based on the robot's attributes. There are 3 different types of traits. You have the element, you have the physique of the robot, and then you're going to have the organic or non-organic aspect. So in this case here we have fire, water, air, and water. Those are the 4 different element traits. You're going to have strength and speed, and then you're going to have organic and like non-organic. So like the metal robots versus like the weird goopy slimy robots. And in the game you're trying to get as many matching portions of the robot as you possibly can in the bays. So each bay you'll want to have like a fire robot that's also strong, that's also organic. And all of the pieces should match that. And if you can do that, you're going to score 10 points for each of the 3 different traits, getting up to 30 points. If you don't get at least 4 matching parts of that type of robot in here, so for instance, maybe you only got 3 water, and the 4th one is fire, and the 5th one is earth, you won't score any points. So matching matters in this game. Now that being said, now you understand how robots are built. The way the game works is simple. On your turn, you're the person who drops something last, you're going to go first. You will get one of 2 options. Option 1 is you'll simply choose one of the pieces here on the table, put your finger on it, and say, this is the one I want. And then you're going to slide that piece as easy as you can while allowing it to move the rest of the pieces around. And make sure you choose just a portion of the piece until it gets to your mat, in which case you'll take that piece and then you can go ahead and play that piece. Once you have played the piece, you're going to obviously check to see where it's going to go. Now in this case here, I pulled a right leg, and I already had a right leg, so I goofed when choosing this guy. So I have an option. I can place it in a new bay to construct a new robot, or I can replace the previous piece of my robot with this new piece. Now, in the beginning of the game, I would not suggest you do that. I would just simply have you select another robot area and place that down, but you'll have the option. Otherwise, in the case of, choosing an arm, you would go ahead and place it in the robot's arm area. And then it would be basically 2 out of 5 to construct the robot. And so your objective when you're choosing for this action is to find the best face-up piece that matches one of your already previously almost constructed robots and build, or construct a new robot with a new element type and traits and attributes, all that kind of stuff. And you can place it on a different portion of one of the bays. You can place it on any of the bay areas as long as you only have one of that piece in each of the specific regions of that bay. So I've placed it face up, then I would be done with my turn. The next player can do the second action, because there's only 2. Option 1 is select a face-up piece from here and drag it along the board. Option 2 is selecting 2 face down. So you can't select any face-up with this action, but you can select face down. So if I wanted to, I could take this piece here, and I would simply slide it, moving all these other pieces around until I get it, and then I would flip it over. Then I would do it again. I get 2. So I would take another one and slide it, and select this one. And from there now I have these 2 pieces. I can look at them, determine which one I want, and then I can place it. The other one, however, will have to go back, and you'll just simply put it back into the pile just like that. And those are the 2 actions of the game, taking a face-up tile and then placing it in one of your bays, or selecting 2 face-down tiles and choosing one of them, flipping it face-up, putting it in one of your bays, and throwing it back in. Whenever you take parts from this area here, this area is going to be ever changing, because as you select new parts, you are going to be sliding these things around in order to get the parts that you need and placing them down. And then from there, the kind of board, the grid will look a little bit different. It'll be harder to see some of the different parts, easier to see other parts, etc., etc. That's the game. That's how it's played. Face up or 2 face down, select one, place it in one of your bays. And then once you have constructed a robot, so if for instance, I was able to construct this robot here, let's go ahead and take some random parts to show you how that works. I need a head. Show me a head. And that's another thing part of this game is you're gonna actually be like, when you choose certain pieces, and part of the game is not just to like find the pieces you want, but looking for additional other pieces later in the game. So you're going to be kind of moving them. Now you have to follow the rule of when you take the piece, you can't just move it however you want. You typically are going to move it in one specific direction as you push the pieces across until you get that piece to your board. But you will be moving pieces a lot, and that's part of the game. So I've got my robot here. I had my 5 turns. I built 5 components here. I'll then put my robot together. I'll take all the pieces, and as you'll see that there's an acrylic see-through aspect to the game. So when you have your full robot completed, you'll have an actual robot that looks like a robot. If I can manage to get this guy looking good. And then you will place it on the bottom portion of your scoring area. Here we go. There's my robot. And so it should come together like this. Of course, you're seeing B-roll. And that will give you a robot. My robot here is Coondam. Kundam. That's my robot. And then I will check the traits. Did I hit any 4 matching element traits or 5? Did I score any 4 matching strength or physique attributes? And then the organic or non-organic. And if I was able to score those points, I would select the area in which I would score here. So if I got, I don't know, let's just say I got 4 water and I got 4 strength, that's 10 points. I'd put this robot specifically in the 4-point area. And that'll open up a new bay for me so that I can now construct new robot parts in this area. And that's it. That's how you make robots. You're taking these pieces, putting them down into your bays, constructing your robots, and then once you hit a number, based on the number of players, is when the game will trigger an ending. In a 2-player game, it's 4 robots. So if I built 4 robots specifically for me, the player, the player to my right or left is going to be the player. He's going to get 3 more turns to take. In which case, they're going to try and build up to the number of robots that I have. And if they manage to do so, that will end the game. However, if they don't, you're going to keep whatever you have. But you can't ever get more than the player who finished. Then you'll add up all the points. Okay, I have a 10-point robot, a 15-point, a 20-point, and a 20-point. Okay, 40, 50, 65 points. Did I beat you? And there you go. That's the winner of Widget Ridge. It's a simple game in nature, a little more complex in how to set the game up. But let's talk about what I think about it. I'm sure I totally said Widget Ridge, which is another good game, but no, this is Widget's Workshop. my brain here. This is a game about drafting components to create robots. It's the element of what you do before you play Warhammer. You construct little portions of these characters and you put them together, thusly giving you kind of the stats for the character, which references the points that you will get based on the matching elements and attributes and the type of robot that it is, whether it's mechanical or organic. And it's a simple game in nature. This is probably the least complicated game I've played so far from Phase Shift as far as what it entails to the rules and the complexity of the game, but that does not deviate from the strategy. The strategy comes in where Phase Shift Games shines. The idea of how they like to have their games designed, or the idea of what they kind of want for their style of games I've been noticing, is the idea of dropping pieces down, creating this kind of random aspect to a game, and then allowing players to kind of formulate how the game is going to look and what it's going to feel like and what pieces are going to be available to you, so the replayability is always endless. Yes, the game is pull a piece, place a piece, for the most part, and passing and then creating robots and putting them down and then giving the last player 3 turns, in which case you count points from 30 to 0 for all your robots and it's game over. Well, that is simple. It is a straightforward game. It's on the lighter side. But the complexity comes into not only choosing pieces, but moving pieces on this grid here. The 2x2 square grid you're having with all these widgets, allowing yourself to determine, I need to see pieces over here on this right-hand side. I haven't seen any heads, and I need a water head that is also a strength attribute. Now, this is my water arm that has a strength attribute. That's great, but I've seen another one of those already with a, maybe it's not exactly the same type. I think it's one of each specific types for all 5. But getting as close as you possibly can, taking different pieces to allow you to see other pieces, giving you that opportunity to kind of assess the grid so that you're going to be able to attract the pieces that you need. You're also going to be paying attention to your opponent's boards. More players equals more competition for the specific parts that you need, and knowing when to stop looking for that very specific piece is going to be important, especially if a player already has it. Then you need to get the next best thing to move on, because sticking to one simple thing is not going to satisfy the condition for the game. You're going to need to sometimes make concessions in order to get robots as close as you possibly can to your goal. And that is all based around not only seeing what players have, but also what the grid looks like, where likely pieces are going to be for the ones that you want, and also getting an idea of memorization, because as you can see on the back of these, you're going to notice that they have specific like outlines. So I can be like, okay, I know what the blue robot looks like. This is likely the blue robot head. But is it? And that's just an easy one, because that's just the face down version that's visible. However, now you got this nasty looking grid here, and just under here you're like, this one I think looks like it could be a green one, but it is face down, and making those options and pulling from there, and then realizing that it was actually a blue leg, and I already have 2 of those for 2 different bins. Do I really want another blue leg on my 3rd bin, thusly guaranteeing I don't score 5 matching parts for certain traits? Rough. And I love that aspect to the game. It brings a lot of strategy and thought while having player interaction when it comes to moving this grid around and kind of hiding your opponent's pieces while gathering yours, all while at the same time of being a very simple game. A game I can teach you in 2 minutes and get into it and play. What I also like about this game too is the idea of these additional components to it. The pizza components, these are basically pieces that you can take, you can utilize later on a different turn by discarding them to take a bonus turn. So you can wait until the grid looks better for you to take the pieces that you need, at the cost of potentially losing the pieces that you need. So having little extra pieces that are essential to being able to construct the right robots that you need is great, and I like the idea of adding those little pizzas. And I suggest you do it, even at the beginning of the game if you've already played enough board games to understand how it works. There's other pieces that will let you swap element types in here as well. So it can be like, this is not only green, but also water, or it's not only organic, but it's also non-organic, can kind of mix and match to create your best robot. And there's different play modes to the game as well. So the game I explained to you is the simple turn-by-turn game mode, but in fact there is another aspect to the game, and that aspect is taking no turns. You're just simply playing and gathering as quickly as you can up until you hit a certain point. Play proceeds like normal, except for everyone drafts at the same time in real time. You'll want to move fast, but you also be mindful of what you draft, obviously. And when drafting face down cards, select just one at a time and proceed as if it was drafted face up. And the game ends just like normal, but only when the entire pile is empty. It doesn't matter how many constructs each player has in order to complete it. And that's really cool. So it becomes this speed race of not only constructing as many as you possibly can as fast as you can, but also making sure that you ensure points. That's probably a more advanced way to play the game. I don't even say just different, because I feel like the core idea of taking turns is still going to be a complex aspect, especially with more players, but overall, a solid, very enjoyable, simple to play game, simple to explain game. It's a very basic game. One minor thing about this game is I would suggest you get the playmats. I think I dramatically like the game more with the playmats. That way, being able to see where the components go and looking at the different pieces, kind of referencing them, because it's hard to see the pieces and understand what they are. Is that an arm or a leg? Is that the left leg or is that the right leg? And I did that constantly because my brain doesn't work very well, but with this, it kind of helps you. And also, the idea of where the letters to describe your robots are will give you an idea as well, but this gives you more context. It also gives you an area to score each of your different types of robots as you place them down. It reminds you of the different portions of the robots. And of course, it gives you the rule aid. It has the entire game directly on these mats. I don't know if the game is going to be including that or not, but I suggest you get it if it does not include it. Now, they may come with a board for you, that would be fine, or like a player aid and like little grid areas, something like that, just to remind you of what it's supposed to look like. I guess it wouldn't be that complicated with that. Maybe I'm just spoiled because I have the mat, but either way, I highly suggest the mat. Getting these plus the mat is how I feel like the game should be played. This is a really fun game. The stylization of robots and putting them together to build them, by actually constructing them by putting all the pieces together when you're finished and placing them in kind of like their areas of completion, feels really good. The additional aspects of adding different components that are not components for your robot, but bonuses that you can use as a potential extra thing. Like these are chopsticks from the game Sushi Go. That's what the pizzas are. Being able to kind of lose a turn now, but then get a turn later. It's wimpy. It's I gladly pay you Tuesday for a hamburger today kind of idea. Yeah, it's a fun game. It's an enjoyable game. It's a light game. It's fairly simple in nature, but the complexities lie in how you choose to build and how good you are at watching your opponents. But you don't have to. You can just simply build your robot, have a good time, not worry about anything, and still come out with a good score in the game. That feels good. A solid small game from Phase Shift Games. Widget's Workshop is a ton of fun. I recommend it. Thank you guys for watching another Unfiltered Gamer board game review for the game Widget's Workshop by Phase Shift Games. Alex Cutler. If you're interested in picking in this title, you can go ahead and hit the link down below in the description so you can go ahead and pick up this little robot building engine making game. I highly enjoyed it. I thought it was a lot of fun. I like the idea of kind of the precursor to Warhammer. It's the building of the things that you're constructing, and so then that way my buddy John can actually play with them. In fact, maybe the second version of this game could be, I've built the robots, and now you're using the robots that I have built with their letters or whatever to have dudes, and you can have like this little arena game. There you go. There's a sequel for you. If you liked our videos, you want to see more videos, you can go ahead and hit the like button, hit the subscribe button for more information, hit the bell notification so you can see more of our videos we create. We're doing Sunday live streams once again. We did a game for Surya recently, this last Sunday. The game's doing very well, very proud of it. Thank you guys so much for watching, and as always, I look forward to constructing some more widgets with you in my workshop next time.